Hello everyone, welcome to the 6th session of Figma tutorial. We are going to talk about styles in this session. In Figma, we can have 4 types of styles for texts, colors, effects, and grids, which help us speed up our projects. You can edit the styles whenever you need, and the changes you make in the styles will be applied to the entire project. Very well, when you have not selected any elements on canvas, you can see the local styles item from the design tab. By clicking on the plus sign, we can create 4 types of styles for text, color, effect, and grid. Okay, if I click on the text, as you can see, a box will open, and in this section you can see a preview of the desired style. You can choose a name for this style from the name field, and you can write a short description about this style from the description section. You can access the text tool settings from the properties section. As you can see, here we can apply the font type, the font weight, font size, and other settings that we discussed earlier in the text tool video. Let's go to a hypothetical style for text. I'm taking a name here, for example, heading. And from the font weight section, I choose bold. And from the font size section, for example, I choose size 48. I will just skip other settings. I click on Create a Style. As you can see, an item called Text Styles is added in the Local Style section, which displays the style we created. And you can edit the desired style by clicking on the edit icon. Well, I'll go to the text tool, and in this part I write one word, for example, heading. As you can see, the text tool settings are available to us here, and we can make the desired settings. I want to change the style of this text to the style I created earlier. So I click on this icon from here. As you can see, it shows us the style we created, and by clicking on this item, the changes that we have already considered for the heading style will be applied to this text. Well, let's go to the next styles. I already told you that if you have selected an element on the canvas, you cannot access the local styles. In order to be able to see the local styles, we have to click once on the canvas so that all the elements are deselected and the local styles item is displayed again. I click on the plus sign again. This time I choose the color. Well, its settings are similar to the text. You can preview the color you want from this section. From the name field, you can choose your desired name, and from the description field, you can write a short description about the desired color. For example, I write the name red for the section. And from this section, I choose the color red. By clicking on Create a Style, our style will be created here called Color Styles. And you can see the red item in this section. We can create as many styles as we need. There is a plus sign in front of the Color Styles item, which I click and consider another color as this style. For example, I write blue. Here I select the blue color and click Create Style. As you can see, a new blue item will appear here. Now I want to change the color of this text to the styles I have defined. First, I select it. Note that we want to change the color of the text, so we have to click on this icon from the Field section. Here you can see the color styles. I want to select the red style, so I'm going to click on it. As you can see, the color of our text will change like this. I click on the canvas again and go to the next style, the effect. You are already familiar with the effect settings. From this section, you can set different settings for inner shadow, drop shadow, layer blur, and background blur. And save as a style. For example, here I write the name shadow, and I want to consider a drop shadow for this style. Drop shadow item is selected. I click on this icon and I change the setting of this part. For example, I set the blur value to 15, the Y value to 10, and increase the opacity to 50%. Well, such a style is created, so I click on Create a Style to save my style. Now I want to add the style I created to this heading. Well, I click on the heading to be selected. The style we created was for the effects section, so I click on this icon in the effects section. From here, you can view the styles you saved. Well, we just created one style, and from this part, I click on the shadow item. As you can see, the shadow that we considered for the shadow style is also added to this text. Very well, let's go to the last style, which is grid. I will delete this text and use a default frame from the frame field, for example, iPhone 14. I want to create a grid style. I click on the canvas, and from this part, I create the grid item and make the settings related to the grid. But there is one more thing we can do to add styles. How is that? I will select this frame and add a column grid layout like the tutorial we had in the layout grid video, like this. The number of columns is 4. I will make it black. I set its opacity to 10%, center mode, width to 70, and spacing to 30. As you can see here, we have added 4 columns for the grid layout. Now I want to save the same style. To do this, click on this icon and click on the plus sign in this section and save the same settings that you considered here as a style. For example, I write column. Okay, I click on Create. Let's go to the Local Styles section. As you can see, an item called Grid Styles has been created here, and you can see the style we saved in this section. You can consider different styles directly from the Local Styles section by clicking on the plus sign for these 4 items, or make changes directly for the color, text, grid, or effects section, and then save those settings as your style. For example, here I select a frame. I want to consider a gray color for this frame. Well, I want to save the same color as a style. I click on this icon, and in this part, as you can see, we have already saved 2 styles. I click on the plus sign and save the same color with the name gray. As you can see, a new style is added in this section. Very well. In this session, we got acquainted with the topic of styles. You can save different styles and use them to speed up your projects.